Are you truly prepared for the financial realities of your later years? What if the retirement number you are counting on is only half of what you truly need? If you are 50 years old and you have less than $500,000 saved, I need to show you some math that will keep you up at night. I am 99 years old, and I have watched thousands of people hit 50, thinking they are doing fine, only to realize at 60 or 65 that they are in serious trouble. The numbers I am about to show you are brutal. They are terrifying, but they are real. And if you are 50 with less than $500,000 saved, you need to see this today because every month you delay makes the problem exponentially worse. If you find this topic important and want more realistic analysis, please take a second to like this content and subscribe to the channel. It helps us reach more people who need to hear this message. Take a moment right now and leave a comment below with two things: your age and how much you have saved. We genuinely want to know your thoughts as you face this challenge. Be honest. Nobody is judging you, but you need to see where you stand compared to where you need to be. Because what I am about to share will either wake you up to take massive action now, or it will confirm that you are already on track. Either way, you need to know the truth. Promise me you will read until the end because the final part of this message will show you exactly what to do if you are behind. The math is scary, but the solution is possible if you start immediately. Let me start by telling you about two men I know who both turned 50 in the same year. David had $475,000 saved at 50. Richard had $525,000 saved, just a $50,000 difference. David felt behind and panicked. Richard felt comfortable and relaxed. Fast forward 15 years. David retired at 65 with $2.8 million. Richard is still working at 72 with $600,000, wondering what went wrong. Same starting point, essentially, completely different outcomes. The difference was not the $50,000 at age 50. The difference was what they did with the next 15 years. After seeing their numbers, David got terrified and took massive action. Richard felt comfortable and did nothing different. That $50,000 gap became a $2.2 million gap. I am going to show you exactly why this happened and how to make sure you are David, not Richard. Here is the terrifying math that most 50-year-olds do not understand. If you are 50 with $500,000 saved and you want to retire at 65, you have 15 years left to save and invest. Let's say you live until 90. That is 25 years of retirement. You need your money to last 25 years. While inflation slowly destroys its purchasing power, here is what most people think. 500,000 sounds like a lot of money. I will be fine. But let me show you the reality. At a 4% withdrawal rate, which is the standard safe withdrawal rate financial planners recommend, $500,000 generates $20,000 per year in retirement income. $20,000 annually. That is $1,667 per month. Can you live on $1,667 monthly? Maybe if you own your home free and clear, have no debt, and live very modestly, but most people cannot. Most people need $40,000 to $60,000 annually in retirement to maintain a modest lifestyle. So, if you need $40,000 annually and your $500,000 only generates $20,000, you have a $20,000 annual shortfall. Where does that come from? Social Security maybe covers some of it. Let's say you get $18,000 from Social Security, you are still $2,000 short annually. Or you need to withdraw more than 4% from your portfolio, which means you will run out of money before you die. At 50 with $500,000, you are not in terrible shape, but you are not in good shape either. You are in the danger zone. And here's what makes it terrifying. Inflation is going to cut your purchasing power roughly in half over the next 25 years. That $1,667 monthly will feel like $800 in today's money by the time you are 75. This is the math that keeps people working into their 70s when their bodies are breaking down and they should be enjoying life. But it gets worse. Let me show you what happens if you are 50 with less than 500,000. Let's say you have $300,000 saved at 50. Using the same math at 4% withdrawal, that is $12,000 annually or $1,000 monthly, plus maybe $18,000 from Social Security. Total income, $30,000 annually. That is poverty level in most parts of America. You cannot maintain any quality of life on $30,000 annually. You will be stressed about every expense. You will skip medical care to save money. You will never see your grandchildren because you cannot afford to travel. You will work until you physically cannot anymore. This is not retirement, this is survival. And it is the reality for millions of Americans who thought they were doing fine in their 40s and 50s. Now, let me show you what you actually need at 50 to retire comfortably at 65. If you want to generate $60,000 annually in retirement, which is modest but livable, you need $1.5 million invested at a 4% withdrawal rate. If you are 50 right now and have $500,000, you need to get to $1.5 million in 15 years. That is an additional $1 million. How do you do that? Two ways. Save aggressively and invest the savings, or increase your income and invest the difference. Let me show you the exact math. If you have $500,000 at age 50 and you add nothing more, but let it grow at 8% annually for 15 years, you will have $1.58 million at 65. You are fine if you never save another dollar and get 8% returns. But that is best case, assuming the market cooperates and you have the discipline to never touch the money. Most people cannot do this. Most people will have an emergency or a temptation and withdraw from their retirement accounts. So, you cannot count on this plan. You need to keep saving aggressively. If you have $500,000 at 50 and you save and invest an additional $25,000 annually for 15 years at 8% growth, you will have $2.5 million at 65. That generates $100,000 annually at a 4% withdrawal. You are wealthy. You are secure. You can help your kids and grandchildren. You can travel. You can enjoy retirement. But here is the problem. Saving $25,000 annually when you are 50 is hard. After taxes, if you make a $100,000, you take home maybe $75,000. Saving $25,000 means living on $50,000. If you make $150,000, you take home maybe $110,000. Saving $25,000 means living on $85,000. It is doable, but it requires discipline and sacrifice. But what if you are 50 with less than $500,000? What if you have $300,000 or $200,000 or worse, $100,000 or less? Then the math becomes terrifying. If you have $300,000 at 50, add nothing, get 8% returns, you will have $950,000 at 65. That generates $38,000 annually. With Social Security, maybe $56,000 total. Tight, but possible. If you own your home, if you have $200,000 at 50, you will have $630,000 at 65. That is $25,000 annually plus Social Security equals $43,000 total. Very tight, probably not enough. If you have a $100,000 at 50, you will have $317,000 at 65. That is $12,000 annually plus Social Security equals $30,000 total. You are in poverty. You cannot retire. You will work until you die or until you cannot work anymore, and then you will rely on family or government assistance. This is why I said the math is terrifying, because most 50-year-olds in America have far less than $500,000 saved. The median retirement savings for Americans in their 50s is around $180,000. Half of people have less than that. Half. That means half of people currently in their 50s will not be able to retire at 65 with any quality of life. They will work into their 70s or 80s, or they will live in poverty. This is a retirement crisis nobody wants to talk about, but it is real. And if you are 50 with less than 500,000, you are part of this crisis unless you take massive action starting today. Stay with me, because what I am about to show you is how David went from $475,000 at 50 to $2.8 million at 65. The actions he took, the sacrifices he made, the decisions that saved his retirement, because if he could do it starting with less than 500,000, you can too. But you need to understand what is required. When David turned 50 and calculated he only had $475,000 saved, he panicked. He ran the numbers just like I showed you. He realized he was headed for poverty in retirement. So he made 7 radical changes immediately. First, he cut his expenses by 30%. He downsized from a 4-bedroom house to a 2-bedroom condo, cut his housing costs from $3,000 monthly to $1,700, sold his leased BMW and bought a used Toyota for cash, eliminated car payments of $600 monthly, stopped eating out except for special occasions, cut food budget from $1,200 monthly to $600, canceled subscriptions and memberships he rarely used, cut expenses from $7,000 monthly to $4,900 monthly. That freed up $25,200 annually. Second, he negotiated a raise at work. He documented his value to the company and asked for a 20% increase. Got 15%. That added $15,000 to his annual income. Third, he took on consulting work on weekends, 10 hours weekly at $100 hourly. That added $52,000 annually. His total annual income went from $100,000 to $167,000. Fourth, he invested every single dollar of increased income plus the expense savings. That is $77,200 invested annually. At 8% growth for 15 years, that alone became $2.3 million. Add his existing $475,000 growing at 8%, that is $1.5 million. Total $3.8 million. I said he ended with $2.8 million because he had some market downturns and had to help his daughter with college. But even with setbacks, he built massive wealth from age 50 to 65. Fifth, he stopped comparing himself to peers who were spending more. His friends upgraded homes. He downsized. His friends leased new cars. He drove used. His friends took expensive vacations. He took affordable trips. He became comfortable being different, comfortable looking less successful than his peers because he knew the truth. He was building real wealth while they were building the appearance of wealth with debt. Sixth, he automated everything. His paycheck hit his account. $4,000 went to living expenses, checking. Everything else went to investment accounts. He never saw the money, could not spend it. It built wealth automatically. Seventh, he tracked his net worth monthly. Every month he calculated total assets minus total liabilities, watched the number grow, celebrated small wins, stayed motivated by seeing progress. These 7 actions transformed David's financial life in 15 years. But here is what I need you to understand. He did not do this by accident. He got terrified at 50 when he saw the math. That fear drove action. Richard, the other man I mentioned, also turned 50 with similar savings, $525,000, just $50,000 more than David. But Richard did not panic. He thought $500,000 was pretty good. He kept his lifestyle, did not increase his savings rate, did not cut expenses, did not increase income, just coasted. His $525,000 grew to $1.66 million by 65 with 0 additional savings at 8% returns. Sounds good until you realize he still needed to work after 65 because $1.66 million generates $66,000 annually, with Social Security maybe $84,000. But his lifestyle costs $110,000 annually because he never cut expenses. So, At 72, he is still working part-time and stressed and tired and angry at himself. David retired at 65 with abundance. Richard is still grinding at 72 with scarcity. The difference was the action David took between 50 and 65. Now, let me show you what happens if at 50 you have significantly less than 500,000, because most people do. If you have 300,000 at 50 and you do nothing, you will have 950,000 at 65. That is not enough for a comfortable retirement. But if you take David's approach and invest 50,000 annually for 15 years, plus let your 300,000 grow, you will have 2.2 million at 65. You are secure. If you have 200,000 at 50 and do nothing, you will have 630,000 at 65. Not nearly enough. But if you invest 40,000 annually for 15 years, plus let your 200,000 grow, you will have 1.9 million. You are okay. The pattern is clear. Your current balance matters, but your savings rate for the next 15 years matters more. If you are 50 with 100,000 or less, the math gets really scary. 100,000 growing at 8% for 15 years is 317,000. Even with Social Security, you are in poverty. But here is the brutal truth. You can still save yourself if you are willing to make extreme changes. If you invest 60,000 annually for 15 years, starting from 100,000, you will have 1.8 million at 65. But investing 60,000 annually when you only have 100,000 total means you are probably making 150,000 or more and living on 90,000 or less. It is painful. It is a massive lifestyle sacrifice, but it is the only way to save your retirement if you are this far behind at 50. Let me tell you about someone who did exactly this. Maria turned 50 with $90,000 saved. She was a nurse making $95,000 annually. She realized she was headed for disaster. So, she made extreme choices. She moved into a tiny studio apartment, cut her housing from $2,000 to $800 monthly. She picked up every extra shift available, worked 50 hours weekly instead of 36, increased her income to $130,000 with overtime. She lived on $45,000 annually and invested $85,000 annually for 10 years. By age 60, she had 1.2 million saved. She cut back to part-time and let that million grow for 5 more years while adding small amounts. At 65, she had 1.7 million. She went from disaster at 50 to secure at 65 through sheer force of will and sacrifice for a decade. Most people cannot or will not do what Maria did. Most people will read this and think it is too hard, too extreme, too much sacrifice, and they will stay on track for a poverty retirement. But if you are 50 with less than 500,000, you need to understand something. You do not have time for moderation anymore. You do not have time for a balanced approach. You do not have 30 years like someone in their 20s. You have 15 years max. Probably less if you want to retire before 70. This requires urgency. This requires sacrifice. This requires doing things your peers will not do so you can live a retirement your peers cannot afford. Stay with me because what is coming next is the exact action plan for someone who is 50 with less than 500,000. The specific steps you need to take in the next 30 days, 90 days, and 12 months to save your retirement because the math is terrifying, but the solution is possible if you start now. Here is your action plan starting today. First, calculate your exact retirement number. You need to know how much you need at 65 to retire comfortably. The formula is simple. Annual retirement income you want divided by 0.04. If you want 60,000 annually, you need 1.5 million. If you want 40,000 annually, you need 1 million. If you want 80,000 annually, you need 2 million. This is your target. Write it down. Second, Calculate your gap. Your target minus your current savings equals your gap. If you need 1.5 million and have 300,000, your gap is 1.2 million. That is how much you need to build in the next 15 years. Third, calculate your required annual savings. You can use online calculators or work with a financial planner. But roughly, if you need to build $1 million in 15 years with 8% returns, you need to invest about $43,000 annually. If you need to build $500,000, you need about $20,000 annually. This is your savings target. Fourth, look at your current income and expenses. Can you save your target amount from your current income? If yes, automate it immediately. If no, you have two options: cut expenses or increase income. Ideally, both. Fifth, cut expenses ruthlessly. Housing is your biggest expense. Can you downsize? Move to a cheaper area. Refinance to lower your payment. Every dollar you save in housing goes straight to retirement savings. Transportation is next biggest. Can you sell expensive cars and buy used, reliable ones? Eliminate car payments. Every dollar saved goes to retirement. Food is third biggest. Can you meal prep instead of eating out? Shop sales. Cut your food budget by 30%. That money goes to retirement. The goal is to find 20 to 60,000 annually in expense cuts depending on your gap. Sixth, increase your income aggressively. Ask for a raise with documentation of your value. Take on consulting or freelance work. Start a side business. Rent out a room in your house. Sell stuff you do not need. Drive for a rideshare service or deliver food on weekends. Every extra dollar you earn goes to retirement. If you can increase your income by 30,000 and cut expenses by 20,000, that is 50,000 annually to invest. Over 15 years at 8%, that is 1.7 million. You have saved your retirement. Seventh, automate your retirement contributions. Set up automatic transfers on payday. Before you see the money, it is in your 401k or IRA or investment accounts. You cannot spend money you never see. This is critical. Manual savings fails. Automated savings succeeds. Eighth, invest aggressively for growth. At 50 with 15 years until retirement, you still have time for stock market growth. 70% stocks, 30% bonds is reasonable. Do not play it too safe or you will not hit your number, but also do not gamble with crazy investments. Index funds are fine. Ninth, track your progress monthly. Calculate your net worth on the first of every month. Write it in a spreadsheet. Watch it grow. Celebrate progress. This keeps you motivated. When you see your net worth increasing by 5,000 or 10,000 monthly from your savings plus investment growth, it is addictive. You want to save more. You want to see that number grow faster. Use that motivation. 10th, get an accountability partner, spouse, friend, or financial advisor who knows your goal and checks in quarterly. Someone who will not let you cheat or give up when it is hard. This is a 15-year marathon. You need support. Now, let me address the objections. I know you are thinking, but Charlie, I cannot save 40,000 a year. I can barely save 10,000. Then you need to increase your income or accept that you will work longer or retire with less. Those are your options. The math does not care about your feelings. If you need $1 million in 15 years, and you can only save 10,000 annually, you will only build 275,000. Add your current savings, and you might hit 500,000 total. That is not enough for a comfortable retirement. You will need to work to 70 or 75, or you will need to live on 35,000 annually, which is tight. If that is unacceptable, you need to find a way to save more. Get a second job, cut expenses more, increase your income. There is no magic solution, just math and choices. But Charlie, I have kids in college. I cannot save more right now. This is the most common excuse, and it is the most dangerous. You are sacrificing your retirement to pay for your kids' college. In 10 years, you will be 60 and broke, and your kids will be working adults who cannot help you because they are struggling with their own bills. Stop. Your retirement comes before your kids' college. Your kids can get loans or work or go to cheaper schools. You cannot get a loan for retirement. You cannot work forever. Your retirement is more important than their college. Fund your retirement first. Help them second. If there is money left over, not the other way around. But Charlie, I want to enjoy my 50s. I do not want to live like a monk for 15 years. Then you need to adjust your expectations about retirement. You are choosing current enjoyment over future security. That is your right, but do not complain at 65 when you cannot retire and have to work into your 70s. The math is simple. Save now, enjoy later, or enjoy now, work later. You cannot have both unless you are making $300,000 plus annually. For most people, it is a choice. David chose to sacrifice from 50 to 65 so he could enjoy 65 to 90. Richard chose to enjoy 50 to 65, and now he is working at 72 and miserable. Your choice determines your outcome. Let me show you one more comparison to make this crystal clear. Two women both turned 50 with $300,000 saved. Woman A decides to get serious, cuts expenses by $20,000 annually, picks up side work for $15,000 annually, invests $35,000 annually for 15 years. Her $300,000 grows to $950,000. Her annual investments become $900,000 more. Total at 65, $1.85 million. She retires comfortably, travels, helps grandchildren, lives well for 25 years. Woman B decides it is too hard to save more, keeps her lifestyle, saves $5,000 annually. Her $300,000 grows to $950,000. Her annual investments become $100,000 more, total at 65, $1.05 million. She needs to work part-time until 72. Stressed about money constantly. Cannot help family. Struggles through retirement until she dies at 80. Broke. Same starting point at 50. A $30,000 annual difference in savings. Woman A invested $35,000 yearly. Woman B invested $5,000 yearly. That $30,000 annual difference became $800,000 by retirement. Woman A lives abundance. Woman B lives scarcity. The difference was choice and sacrifice during those critical 15 years from 50 to 65. You are at that crossroads right now if you are 50. Which woman will you be? The one who sacrifices now to thrive later, or the one who stays comfortable now and struggles later? I am 99 years old. I have watched this play out hundreds of times. The people who are happy and secure in retirement are not the ones who made the most money in their careers. They are the ones who saved aggressively from 50 to 65 when they realized time was running out. The ones who are miserable and struggling are the ones who thought they had time or thought 500,000 was enough or could not find the discipline to save more. At 50, you are at the financial inflection point of your life. What you do in the next 15 years will determine whether you enjoy retirement or endure it. Whether you are financially free or financially stressed, whether you help your family or burden them, the math I showed you is terrifying. It should be, because if you are 50 with less than 500,000, you are in the danger zone. Not crisis yet, but danger. You are one market downturn or one health crisis or one job loss away from crisis. You need to build a buffer. You need to accelerate your savings. You need to take action now. Not next month, not next year. Now, every month you delay costs you $10,000 or more in future retirement security. You do not have time to wait. The people who comment and engage are the ones who take action. Be Maria. The ones who watch the person who gets terrified by the ones who end up like Richard to drive massive action for 15 years. Your future self will thank you. Your family will thank you. You will sleep peacefully at 70, knowing you are secure instead of lying awake at 72, wondering how you will pay next month's bills. The math is terrifying, but the solution is clear. Cut expenses, increase income, save aggressively, invest consistently, track progress, stay disciplined for 15 years. Do this and you will retire securely, regardless of where you are starting. Do not do this, and you will work into your 70s and struggle through retirement. The choice is yours, but you need to make it today because tomorrow you will be 50 in 1 month. Next month you will be 50 in 2 months. Time is the one resource you cannot get back. Start now. The command to start now is simple, but it is not easy. The reason most people in their 50s fail to act is not because the math is wrong. It is because the psychology is harder than the math. You have been told this is terrifying, and it is. For many, that fear does not spark action. It causes paralysis. You see the $1.5 million gap and you think, it's impossible. It's too late. Why bother? This is the single most dangerous thought you can have. It is the voice of Richard, not David. It is the logic of poverty. The second psychological trap is social pressure. This is the poison of the comfortable middle class. You are more afraid of looking poor for the next 15 years than you are of being poor for the final 25. Think about that. You will keep the expensive car, the oversized house, and the costly vacations, not because you love them, but because you fear the judgment of your neighbors, your friends, and your family if you were to downsize. You would rather drive a new luxury sedan to the poorhouse than drive a 10-year-old Toyota to wealthy retirement. David's superpower was not just his spreadsheet, it was his decision to stop caring what other people thought. He embraced looking less than his peers so he could ultimately be more than secure. This is the central lie. Sacrifice. What David and Maria did was not sacrifice. It was a trade. They traded 15 years of visible material consumption for 30 years of invisible internal peace. They traded 15 years of looking good for 30 years of living well. The real sacrifice is what Richard is doing. Richard is sacrificing his health, his dignity, and his freedom at age 72. He is sacrificing his golden years to pay for the comfortable, coasting lifestyle he refused to give up in his 50s. He traded his future for his present. You must do the opposite. At 50, you have an advantage you did not have at 25 or 30. You are not guessing. You have clarity. You know what is truly important, and you know what is just noise. You are also, most likely, at the peak of your earning power. Your ability to generate income, your greatest wealth-building tool, is at its zenith. This is not the time to slow down. This is the time to weaponize your income. This is the time to leverage your experience into consulting, to demand that raise, to launch that side business. This is the moment to become a financial warrior, not a victim of the math. For 15 years, you must become ruthless. You must become a person obsessed with the single goal of buying your freedom. Every dollar you spend on an unnecessary item is a dollar you are stealing from your future self. Every time you fail to save, you are sentencing your 75-year-old self to another shift at a job they hate. The choice is not between sacrifice and comfort. The choice is between which sacrifice you will make. Will you choose the short-term, controlled, strategic sacrifice of your lifestyle now? Or will you choose the long-term, painful, forced sacrifice of your dignity, your health, and your freedom later? The math is brutal, but the choice is simple. The clock is ticking. Start now.